I'm Lisa Snyderman, and this is Conversations on Creating to Heal. And today I'm really happy to be speaking with Valerie Smalkin from Cockeysville, Maryland. She's a musician, composer, and entertainer for families who uses music, puppets, and comedy to create moments of community joy and to express. And her story is a story of emotional survival through music. So welcome, Valerie.
Oh, it's nice to be here, Lisa. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So we talked a little bit about how you identify yourself and your purpose in your introduction. Maybe we can talk about your transformation story. So I noted that yours is a story of emotional survival through music. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and perhaps how it has most significantly transformed you?
Well, this is very au courant, my story. And I haven't shared it that much with that many people, but I was one of those. I was sexually abused by my father when I was young. And also, and you may not identify with this, but anyone who's Roman Catholic will get the rest of this. I was in first grade, about 5 years old, and you learn that a mortal sin, you learn the 10 mortal sins, one of which is adultery, which is sex with a married person. So I thought, well, I'd committed adultery. I'd had sex with a married person, which was a mortal sin, a black covering of your soul. Then, if you went to communion in the state of mortal sin, it was another mortal sin on your soul. So I went through this period, 5 years old, 6 years old, thinking my soul was just covered with black sins. And I can remember walking up a hill. We went to a summer home and it was in the woods, thinking, oh, I must have like 20 mortal sins on my soul. What am I going to do? And it was depressing and horrible. And I mean, no child should have to think like that. And then we have to add to this. We would have discussions about what was hell like? Because if you had a mortal sin, you were going to hell. Was it like putting your hand on the burner of a stove? Or was it like being like Joan of Arc and burned at the stake and for eternity? So those things weigh heavily on the mind of a 6 or 7 year old. So you start there. And I did finally, this is where I would spend part of my life as a lawyer, and I think it started here. I went to confession and said, I disobeyed my mother, meaning my mother surely would not have approved of this. And so that sin was in there. And so I was forgiven. So that's how I managed to get along that way. But then still in this family, you weren't allowed to express anger. We just didn't. If you got in a fight with your brother or sister, you both got in trouble. So we didn't. And that's where music came in. It was a very musical family and started music at 4, 5, 6, and that's where I would express my emotion. So that's where I often say that if I did not have time to go out in the piano room and go, I would not have survived.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. That's huge to be a 6-year-old and have the weight of these kind of oppressive issues on your shoulders. Yeah, like you said, no 6-year-old should have to deal with that. So was music something you got formal training in, or did you explore it and it was, again, I hear it was an outlet for you. Was it something that you started and then said, I want to get more training, or did you teach yourself? How did that part happen?
Although, my father had some big faults, but he did provide for us great educations. And so I was the youngest of 6 children.
Wow.
Everyone played an instrument. I had formal lessons up until about 8th or 9th grade. Then I stopped thinking that studying was more important, but I kept playing. And then after I graduated with a degree in philosophy, which was not very useful, I went to Berklee College of Music for a year and realized that while I loved music, I was being in the business this is 1973, 74, which was a pretty riotous time on this earth, in this country. A lot of drugs, just a lot of things that I was not going to survive. So I stopped that, but I did keep music going. In fact, I stopped that, went to law school, met my husband. His gift to me, his engagement gift, was a piano, a Yamaha, right? And then we had children, and then I found children's music, which has everything I love about music, none of the things I can't stand. So no drugs, no bars, none of that. So that's, since then, that was, I guess, oh Lord, we got married in 1980. So it's about 87 is when I started. Since 1987, it's been kids music and family music all the way.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's so neat. And how did you involve things like the puppetry? Was that something that was an evolution, or was that part of your exploration in kids music?
It's a very funny story, actually. I was doing a show. I used to work with a partner. We would sing and do shows for children. And we were at a very fancy country club in the Washington, D.C. area with 600 children in a room at Halloween. And two boys in the front started a fist fight. I mean, at the jaw.
Wow.
And so I knew you can't, you got people there, you can't frown, you can't get mad. So I switched off my microphone and I leaned over and said, "If you do that again, I'll call the police." Which you probably wouldn't do today. But they stopped and the thing was over. And after that program, I turned to my partner. I said, I could be a ventriloquist. And that's how the whole idea started.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that story. That's a great story.
A very silly story, but very true. So then I went and I found I remember going into Joann Fabrics and looking for a pattern. And I found a goose. And wait a minute, stay right there. Be right back. Wait a minute, we have a surprise guest. She was over there pretending she was cleaning.
Hello. That's me. She's talking about me.
Yeah, this is when she was created.
I'm glad you asked me to come.
Can I talk to you? Do you have a name?
My name is Silly Goose.
Well, hello, Silly Goose. I had no idea. I thought I'd be talking to Val today. So this is a really nice surprise for me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. What do you want to know about her? I'll tell you everything.
Well, today we're talking about creativity and healing. So what I really want to understand is how doing things like connecting with you and connecting with children has helped Val to heal and help other people to heal as well.
Can I tell them a secret?
Oh, you can tell them. Okay.
The truth is, kids will say anything to a puppet. Stuff they'd never tell you. Or you.
Well, that's right.
I'm very helpful when it comes to children.
Oh, well, I don't know. It may just be the kid inside me, but I probably can say anything to a puppet too. That's probably why I asked you that question. You're very easy to talk to, Silly.
I am, I know.
And actually, you kind of give me a permanent smile. So I really appreciate talking to you. And now I'm going to talk to Val for a minute and find out what she thinks about her experience with healing and how it may have, how she may have experienced it.
I'll tell you what, that sounds very, very boring to me. So I'm just going to go over there and sit down and finish my lunch.
Okay, you go to bed.
Thanks, Silly.
Oh, you're welcome.
I know she was coming. Oh, well. So, yeah. So you were saying, while I wasn't.
Yeah, I know, because you weren't here. I was talking to Silly. Right. What a neat thing to have these different identities and really embrace and embody them. I love that you can do that so fully. I know part of it is years of experience, but the other part is really just having that mindset and being able to really put yourself in the place of your audience too, what your audience needs.
I think someone else said this, that when you give your audience, the adults especially, permission to be silly, permission to be, they love it. Everyone loves to do that. And we spend so much of our lives being an adult and being very correct, and so when you get a chance, sometimes it might take 10 minutes for me to warm an audience up to that point. Sometimes they're ready from the get-go, but I'm sure you've had that experience. They let loose and finally they're laughing and having fun. And that's what I do best. That's what Tiggers do best. That's what I do best.
How has creating Silly and creating your music helped you heal? How does it work through some of these emotional baggage and other things that you've had, and how do you experience that healing?
Music itself is healing. Just being around music makes your little brain send out alpha waves, and so that's calming. And I think being able to use music to communicate with people and make children laugh and make that laughter is healing. So I had the sweetest story. I went into a hospital room for Theater Arts Festival for Youth, or it might have been Pickleberry Pie. One of these, they send people into hospitals. And this poor child was so sick, and the doctor was there, and she picked up her shirt and she said, look, you put all these stitches. She had this scars all the way across here. And I had been playing with her, so I moved back a little bit, and I said, I was going to make room for the doctor. And he turned to me and said, she needs you right now a lot more than she needs me. And I just thought, what a generous soul he was, because that's, there's a lot of doctors who might not really think that.
Yeah.
But it moved me so much to think that I am helping. That laughter, that helps these children. So helping others is healing. Oh, I had the great opportunity to work at the Maryland School for the Blind for a group of 6 blind from birth teenagers at a songwriting project. And the goal was for them to self-advocate and to learn how to speak for themselves. And so I walked in the first day and I said, okay, what's it like being blind? And they said, it sucks. Being blind is terrible. And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
But we moved from there eventually to some songs they wrote, one being the Dance of Freedom. We will dance the dance of freedom, whether blind or whether sighted. We will dance the dance of freedom and our hearts will be united. And they just, I could go on and on about these songs. There's articles and things that it was an amazing, amazing opportunity. And the children as a group grew together. And I'm sure I learned way more than they did.
Well, no, that's such a great example of how you're doing what you do and you're transforming others just by giving them, that outlet, just by you being there. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm just going to add, and when you transform others, that bounces back and transforms you. Boop.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, right now I want to invite you to share a meaningful piece of your music or art, and then talk just a little bit about why you're playing that or talking about that.
So I'm sharing with you a song. It's called Zachary's Song. And it was written after a little boy who was in my daughter's class in 2nd grade at school drowned in a local pond. And of course, there's really no response to that. I woke up one morning and the song was in my mind. There it is.
We are here for a while. We are here, then we're gone. Whether grown or a child, we all sing the same song. In God's love, we are living. In God's love, we come home.
And to this day, when I sing that song, I just get chills. And it came fully written. Just woke up in the morning and blah, there it was. So that to me was a bit of a miracle.
Yeah, and so your experience in sharing it with others, what kind of impact has that had?
I sent an audio tape to the family. I said, when you're ready, and they wrote back. But then over the years, for a mid part of my life, when my knees went bad and I couldn't perform, I taught middle school band and music. Children die. It happens again and again. So this song would come up. We had the choir at the church and the school learn to sing it, and we would sing it for people. And it's just always been a very healing message and song for a community or people in pain.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for sharing some of the silly and, the heartfelt and the human spirit. So on that note, is there anything else that you might want to leave the viewers with? Maybe some lessons learned from your journey with creativity and healing?
If you are someone who was sexually abused, find someone to talk to, and really therapy, because you can't bring these same issues up to your friends day after day after day after day. You have to find a place where it's appropriate to talk about it and get out of it. And then, and one appropriate way, I didn't realize I'd written this down. If you need to express anger, the best way, you take a tennis racket, you go to your bed and you whack that bed and you whack that bed. Scream if no one's home. It's wonderful. And again, it just releases all that pent up stuff. So I guess my message would be, don't let anything get pent up.
I like that. So don't let anything get pent up, and find a support system, find a way to deal with issues such as sexual abuse. Well, thank you, Val, for coming on the show.
You're welcome.